brought in, all of the players, have certainly added a freshness to that. They've added an energy and a desire to want to be here and perform for the club, and I think that's really important. The window is still open for another month. Listen, we would love to have got all the business done before the start of the season. Sometimes it's a variety of factors that means that's not the case. But yeah, we're still actively looking to do things. But what I would say is that any of those players that we have identified and we've tried to go and get, it's certainly not been a financial reason why we've not got them. It's been a location reason. It's been what division we're in now currently, and the players that we're trying to get, if they've got interest in the division above, they're going to go there. So, and it's same for the players that we've lost. You know, a lot of the players that we have lost have gone up a division. We've not lost out to teams in our league financially, and we can, like Simon says, we are competitive and we're in the fight for the players that we're trying to bring in. But you're not going to get them all. But we all know that there is a unique aspect to this football club. But what I would say is the ones that we have got at this football club now are desperate to be here and desperate to do well, and I think that's important.
Okay, thank you. Just for people watching at home, I believe there were a couple of technical problems at the start with the sound, so apologies for that. However, this whole fans forum is being recorded, so if you missed anything right at the start, we'll push it out on our YouTube channel for free and on Argyle TV, so you can catch up. And hopefully it is all working fine for you now. But for everybody here, you've heard everything, which is great. Let's open up the floor to some questions. So, reminder, if you can, please keep it general, club-wide, for these three to be able to answer it. And also, please address your question to whoever you want the answer from. So, hands up. I imagine a seal and we'll go up here. Great, okay. Alistair Cliff, our media and comms manager, is at the back, so I will let you choose who you want to go for. Yes, okay.
Hi, Graham Clark. A sense of deja vu, because I think I asked the first question this time last year about investment, and guess what?
Yeah, here we are.
It's the same question. Couple of things addressed to Simon.
Sorry.
We went through sort of 9 months or so of investments coming. I think you first revealed something was happening at St Dennis in November. I think you did a podcast in January where you implied that it wasn't just a minority investor, it could progress to full ownership. Then we went to March where you gave a structured detail of how an investor or the investors would work with the progress to full ownership. I think it would just be a little bit helpful if you could just explain exactly what happened as far as you can, because people say, oh, it's just a smoke screen, or it's never going to happen, as you well know. Secondly, minority investors, what is the attraction as opposed to full ownership? Because I think you've stated there are people that want to invest in a minority share. I'm just thinking of John Textor, for example. At Palace, he had a large shareholding but had no influence in the decisions. So do minority shareholders have an influence in decisions, and what's the attraction for them? And finally, where are we now?
Right. Thank you, Graham. Let me deal with the middle one first. There's a kind of growing wave of minority investment in football clubs and sporting clubs by media celebrities. You know, the Wrexham one is a clear one where they have control. But by media celebrities, by sports people who are interested in participation, which frankly was how I first got involved in Argyle. You know, I wanted to be on the board. I wanted to feel closer to a club that I happened to support. And there does seem to be a growing amount of interest, particularly in the United States, in people basically wanting to participate in something that they think is, you know, worthwhile, ranging from just fun to doing something for a city that maybe they feel some affinity to. So that's just the case of how it operates in the market. From our point of view, you know, we think we're well managed. We think we're doing pretty well. and a minority that can provide the money we need without needing to sell control of the club is pretty attractive, so long as we can raise, the right amount of money. As to what happened, it actually started over a year ago, talking with the group where it ultimately failed. They were very slow in responding to things, not atypical, but they were slow. So it took us, I'm going to be roughly right here, don't hold me to it. It took us till sometime in the summer to come to a firm letter of intent, head of terms kind of thing, which is a non-binding statement about how you see the structure becoming embedded in a share purchase agreement and a subsequent shareholders agreement. By December, when I said in Cornwall that we were close to ready to file with the EFL, that was true. We had a draft shareholders agreement, we had a draft share purchase agreement. There were a couple of details that took another 6 to 8 weeks to iron out. We actually filed for approval of the transaction with the EFL in February. There were some questions that we knew the EFL were going to ask and that we wanted answered ourselves, in particular about the ultimate beneficial ownership. It was a rather complex structure that this group had, and we had been assured from the start that we would know who the ultimate beneficial ownership belonged to, but in the end, that looked like it was going to remain opaque. And rather than have the embarrassment of it being knocked down by the EFL, we decided that this wasn't acceptable to us either, and we eventually pulled out. When I wrote the chairman's chat in May, we had not pulled out, but these people were being so slow that I was no longer confident about the word imminent. We gave them a couple more weeks to come up with the answers we required, and then we said, sorry, we're pulling out of the deal. So that's the first question. That's the second question. The third question is where we are now. Where we are now is that we have begun we will hire an intermediary to help us basically reboot the entire process. The one thing that I want to make clear, so that means hiring an intermediary who will work on valuation, set up a brand new data room that needs to be updated, and go out and trawl for potential investors that they can qualify and eventually seek our approval before we move on to the same process again, the letter of intent, the share purchase agreement, the shareholders agreement, and so on. So that's exactly where we are now. The one thing that I want to make clear that I thought I'd made clear in the chairman's chat but doesn't seem to have been noticed is that the fact that we don't have new investors doesn't mean we haven't got new investment. We are the shareholders, or me, mostly me, are putting more money into the club to make sure that we can finish off Fulston Park. When we had a rights issue 3 years ago, we raised money from shareholders to provide the funding for Argyle's share of the Fulston Park project. So we raised, I think it was about £12.5 million from shareholders. Yep. And we, at the time, thought that we were going to be getting new investment. So we actually kind of preloaded a number of the other investments that we were thinking about making, which included the purchase of the Green Taverners. It included some Green Taverners building, I should say. Don't tell Gary, it's like human trafficking. The land out here, which is now the fan zone, and a number of other projects that have been very successful in terms of revenue generation, as I've just described. But essentially, we now need to re-raise the money from the Brickfields. So we'll be back to shareholders. So basically, I have committed, with the other shareholders have committed that money will be made available. So with some of the funds that we were seeking from new investors have come from the existing investors.
Are you then confident, Simon, in any way able to speak with confidence about any other
No,
group of investments?
Of course not. I mean, I was very confident about these people. I've learned not to be overconfident. in this regard. These transactions are very, very difficult.
And take time as well.
They always take time. And, we're not the only club seeking new investors. And we're not the only club that's taken a long time about it, by the way. We know of, several clubs in both the Championship and League One that are, they're either actually for sale as a whole club, or they're actively pursuing new investors. So it's not as easy as people think. You see a transaction, you see a Wickham get sold, you see Wickham's owner go on and buy Reading. But the Reading transaction took, that took at least 18 months, for example. So it's very disappointing. Nobody's more disappointed than me. Well, so there's one important person who's more disappointed than me that we're having to stump up the money, and that, of course, is Jane. But
yep.
But so what it really means, I think maybe this is where what I should have made clear, Graham, in your third part of the question. A bunch of the things that we were looking to do with new investment are still going to need new investment. I'm tapped out. I thought I was tapped out before, and now I'm really tapped out. So things like filling in the corners, things like expanding the capacity in the Mayflower, things like redeveloping Harper's, all of which are very, very major items of expenditure, are going to require new investment. So they're basically on hold until... on hold is not quite accurate. We've obviously applied for planning permission for the cricket pitch by Harper's. So planning at a low level continues, but we won't be able to fund that capital expenditure until we have new investors.
Can I just add one thing?
Yeah.
I think on those developments as well that Simon's pointed to, they're actually quite attractive to future investors as well, because they can see added value to the football club. So actually by us putting, as we have done, a development framework about what actually might be able to be done at Home Park and around is really important to investors. So that preliminary work that we have done will be really beneficial to the process that Simon's alluded to that we're going to be undertaking now.
Were there any truth to the Gareth Bale investment group rumours, by the way?
Well, so here's the exact story. So I had a meeting at 10 to 3 p.m. on a Monday afternoon with a guy and his son who were represented. They were basically wealthy Americans who were interested in Argyle, but 3 days earlier had never heard of Argyle. So very, very preliminary conversation. At 10 to 3, I get a text. I forget if it was from a journalist or from a fan or maybe somebody at the club. And it had been reported in one of the papers. The headline wrote, "Gareth Bale heads private equity group to acquire Plymouth Argyle." And my response was, "Nobody tells me anything." And I thought it was just complete hoax of some kind. In this very preliminary conversation with a family office with two wealthy Americans who'd never heard of Argyle 3 days before, it emerged that they were part of a consortium where Gareth Bale was a very small investor. So that was the truth. But the headline, it wasn't private equity group. He wasn't heading it. And the notion that the deal was done was absurd. So nobody at this club, to my knowledge, or to Andrew's, has had any contact with Gareth Bale whatsoever. And I'm sure he's a lovely bloke, but if he wants to call, we'd be happy to talk to him. But no, it's just complete nonsense. But it's a general lesson. There's a lot of stuff that gets written about football clubs that is just made up. Just made up. So
I can vouch for that as well.
Transfer rumours.
Yeah, transfer rumours.
Proxy, I imagine.
Yeah, so transfer rumours, transfer prices. Who's interested in whom? I'm not sure what percentage of it is true, but I'm going to say about 20% of it is. 20% of it has some basis in truth, but most of it is just nonsense.
Okay, good. Let's get another question from the audience. We'll go the other side, Ali, to make you run, if that's okay. So we might have to use these mics in vain and get up and sing or something whilst Ali makes his way across. No one's even laughing
It's a
at
bit
it. so
slow.
that's-
Come on, Ali.
Yeah, hands up. Anyone with a
There's-
question?
There's a gent at the front here.
No, there's one at the back. We will come.
He's Ali needs to get his steps in.
Yeah, he's done it.
Good evening, all. This one's going to David. With the development of the squad going forward and our youth team coming forward, is there plans for an under-21s team in the future for the club to bring on those development of the players from Cornwall, Devon, into Somerset and so on, and drag them to Plymouth? And also, with Truro City now in the National League, is there ways we can use them in the future to bring on those loan players going out to them to get the experience? Because looking back at when Adam Randall went to Torquay and so on, he gained some good experience before he went on to play in the first team here and then went back on to make an investment back in the club on the sale. Is there a future plan to use Truro City as a feeder club now they're in the National League?
Yeah, absolutely. I wouldn't think they'd be too happy if we called them a feeder club. But yeah, obviously you have to build relationships with clubs around you. That's something that's in my history. What I've done the last few years at the clubs I've been at previously is doing the loans and building relationships with your local clubs. And as you say, the fact that Truro are in the National League now, I think that's really important. I think going to play them in pre-season was really important because that builds the relationships. They got to see some of our younger players play as well, which hopefully that might help them. But yes, certainly you have to lean on those clubs around you. And listen, if it's the right opportunity for the player, he has the opportunity to go and play at a very good level. I do think the National League is a good level. As you mentioned, Adam Randall went and played in it. Then yeah, I'm all for giving the lads them opportunities to go and develop. It's the same with Torquay, with Paul Watton. It's the same with Yeovil, good relationships with them. So yeah, we will look to use the local clubs absolutely for loans, and we'd be daft if we didn't. I think we spoke about going back down to Truro, didn't we? I think maybe next summer pre-season, and absolutely they're a club that seem to be on the up and doing things well, and obviously they got the new pitch and things like that, the new ground. So yeah, we'll look to build relationships with them, and I think you made a great point in terms of the under-21s. I think that's something that is very much on our agenda, Andrew, in terms of how that academy looks, especially with the investment that has gone into the academy and the new ground that we'll have down there. I think it's only right that we look to maximise the potential of an under-21s, as you mentioned, or do we go down a B team model, or that there will be discussions that we'll have at the football club to find the right opportunity to bring players through. And I think the big thing an under-21s gives you, it gives lads a bit more time. I think we can be a bit more patient with the players. I think it's very difficult to get them into the first team at 18. I think that 21s enables them to get matches. It gets them a bit more time. It gets them a little bit closer to the first team. Because listen, we all of us in here want to see players from the area, from Cornwall, from Devon, which we have done in the past few years. We want to see them in the first team, and I think that the fact that there's been that much investment gone into it, I think it's only right that we spend the time to make sure we find the best possible solution to get as many players in as we can.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Good question. I'll follow that up with kind of tagging on the loan side of things and stay on transfers if that's okay, David. We haven't used any of our loan slots yet. Is there a desire, need, want to use them?
If they are the right player, if they're going to make an impact for us, absolutely. We'd be naive if we didn't have the opportunity to bring in real added quality. We'd be daft if we didn't do that. But I'm also very cautious of just bringing in bodies for the sake of bringing in bodies. I will definitely not do that. They have to be difference makers. They have to be above the level for us, and they're not cheap. But we have to allow our own players to grow and develop, and that's not just the young players we've brought through, that's the younger signings that we've made. They have to be allowed time to get on the pitch, but on the flip side of that, listen, if a good player comes available, then certainly we'll have our hat in the ring. But what I don't want is added churn that we've seen. I mean, we don't want to the club had 7 loan players last year. None of them are here now, and they need replacing. And to do that every single year becomes difficult. But what I would say is, if the right player is available and he wants to be here, then certainly I'm not against using the loan player.
Okay. We're 32 minutes in, and I'm going to mention this phrase for the first time. Number 9.
Just for me.
Well, probably best placed, yeah.
Listen, we're working hard to try and get another striker in the building. I think, we have signed 2 strikers. It's a very rare situation to walk into a football club and you've got no centre forward. I think that's always difficult, and that's something we will look to avoid in the future in terms of how we succession plan the squad, so that there's not a point where there's a player out of contract, a player returns on loan and a player that leaves. We need to make sure that we're more protected, which we've done with the signings we've made. We're in the market for one more, and we're working hard to get one done. What I would say is that bringing one in before Saturday won't get us promoted, but I think if we bring the wrong one in, that'll make things really difficult. So it has to be the right one. Listen, as I said, we'd have loved to have done it 3-4 weeks ago, but unfortunately the way the world works and the way the market is and the type of player that we're trying to attract to the club, it's taken a bit longer than we hoped. But listen, as I said before, it's not a financial thing. It's a desire from everyone to make sure we get the right one, and it has to align with the values that we have at the club. They have to want to be here, and they have to want to go on a journey with us, and that's we may need to make sure we get the right one.
Should it and it may well have been, so you can tell me that as well, and everybody else, been the priority signing? Because as you say, Ryan Hardy left right at the start of, basically the end of the last season. It's been known. Should it not have been priority number 1?
Like I say, we have brought 2 strikers in. I think if you have 2 strikers in the building already, it gives you a bit of breathing space to go and get another one. I think if you sign a top centre forward, do you get any more? Because they're not going to come down here to not play. So you have to go through a process of recruiting what's available, and if that one isn't available, the one you want, that as you say, the unicorn up there that might not exist, if we're trying to get it, it takes a bit of time to make sure that it's the right one we get. But listen, it has been a priority. It's been something we've worked on, but also, like we say, we've got strikers at the club. We've got other players at the club that I'm confident can score goals. And as I say, listen, we are in the market for one. We're looking to do one, and hopefully one's close.
Top stuff. Okay, let's go back out again. Hands in the air if you've got a question, burning desire. Let's go to the front, Ali, shall we?
Good evening, gents. Andrew, can I bring you back to the last fans forum we held in, I think it was March? I raised the question, which I'm going to raise again, regarding having an appreciation for fans that are no longer with us, i.e. pilgrims in the sky, if you like. And it was unanimously, it was thought of all of you that would be a great idea. We spoke privately afterwards, and I don't know if we can recall, we considered the start of the season would be a good time. So I'm guessing that's not happening. So I would like to think that this hasn't fallen by the wayside. Mm-hmm. So I'm asking again, will we take, or can we take this up? And possibility of, we've got a Boxing Day game, if it's not going to happen this, for once in a blue moon, we've got a Boxing Day at home. So that's a possibility of a date, or the start of January, which obviously we haven't got a home game January 1st, but whatever you would consider best, be it the first game that we have in January, the following season. Yeah,
I did take that on board, so to reassure you, and we have discussed it internally, and we think it's a great idea, and during the course of this season, it will happen. Timing is something that we need to think about with lots of other things. We think it's really important. And I've seen it obviously at other football clubs as well myself, and I think it's very powerful getting the right time and the right messaging. So leave it with us. It will happen during the course of the season.
Thank you for your answer.
Thank you very much for the question. Are there any more that want to ask straight away? Yeah, okay. I mean, no one at the minute can see where I'm pointing, but the mic's on its way.
Hi, it's a question for Simon. Some of us may run our own businesses, and we all have expenditure, we all have profit and loss and turnover and everything. And I was just wondering, what percentage goes back into the first team after you've made the profits and paid the cost? What is the percentage? Is it 66%? Is it 60%? Is it 90%? On actual, on the main, is it say 90 and 10, or is it 80 and 20?
Yeah. So if you run your own business, you're familiar with the concept of a profit, which I think in accounting terms is the money available for shareholders. So Argyle don't make any profits. We aim to break even. We don't break even every year. Some years we make a little surplus, some years we make a little deficit, but over 5-year periods we roughly break even. So if I think about our revenues last year were about 31 million.
31, yeah.
And our player costs were about 16, so they were a little over half our revenues. This year, now, one important thing is that of our revenues of just over 30 million, between 9 and 10, don't hold me to details, Graham.
That's right.
Between 9 and 10 comes from media. When you get money from media or from commercial sponsorship, 100% of that revenue falls to the bottom line. There are no costs or very few costs involved. There are some costs, but very few. In the Championship, we're much more reliant on season tickets, on ticket income, merchandising and so on, which comes with a lower margin. So we expect this year that our revenues will be between 20 and 22 million, and we'll be spending between 8 and 9 on the first team. I should say that that's less than is permitted under the financial fair play rules, which in League 1 and League 2 are either 60 or 55% of revenues that you're allowed to spend. So again, for a new investor, that is actually, for some new investors, let's say, that would be attractive, that they could actually come in and increase the budget dramatically. We'd be making losses, but we'd be within the EFL rules on what you could spend. At the moment, you know, again, we are trying to become a sustainable football club. The idea of having a sugar daddy owner, as they call them, who funds deficits year on year is all very well until that sugar daddy gets hit by a bus or runs out of money or just loses interest. And we've seen at many clubs, they've been running very significant deficits and they've ended up in trouble when the owner, for one reason or another, completely legally, decides that he doesn't want to fund those deficits anymore. And we are not going to be that club.
And just to add one other thing is, going back to having a competitive top 6 budget, we set out before we knew where we would be to think about what we needed to have a competitive top 6 budget and the wage budget we would need to do that. And then everything fell in order to be able to do that, to meet the sustainability rules that we have, to be competitive and to generate the revenue in order to be able to do that. So primarily it goes on making us competitive. That's what we endeavour to do. And everything in terms of our business planning supports that.
Thanks for the question. Could more have been put into the playing side?
If we've been prepared to have losses, yes.
Okay.
And actually, I think this is going to be, I'm sure this question will come up. We'd actually expected this year that we would be making some player sales. So the budget that we set actually assumed that without player sales, we would lose money. So we'd be reliant on shareholders. So the first tranche of the player sales money that we have received over the summer has gone into reducing that deficit. So we now expect to break even this year in League 1.
Okay. Again, any more questions from the audience here, or I will go to some that are in from the viewers back home. We do have another one.
Thank you. I asked a similar question in February to keep it nice and broad, and I'll ask the same, but this time to David. What's your assessment of the transfer window overall so far, and what are your realistic ambitions, aside from the number 9 as mentioned, for the rest of the window?
Yeah, good question. it's always difficult after a relegation. I've said that numerous times, just with the sheer nature of it. Players wanting to move on, players that have probably come to the end of the journey. So I think you're always going to get a very big turnover of playing staff, and obviously we had it with the manager as well. So we've had a pretty hectic summer in that aspect, but I think we were prepared for a lot of it. In terms of the players we've brought in, I think we've used the money that we could invest in signings. I think we've used that well in terms of the money that we've been able to spend in Bradley Ibrahim, Brendan Wiradu, Bim Peppel, Owen Aseni, those types. And then, as you mentioned, we're still actively looking for a couple more. We've still got a couple more bits of business we want to do, for sure. But in terms of how we've been able to deal with quite a lot of churn of players, I've been really pleased with how it's gone, and especially, like you say, we've sort of 2 weeks in, and we're having to recruit a new head coach, which doesn't make things easy as well, because that delays everything for 2 or 3 weeks while we're looking to get the right one in, and we all feel like we've got the right head coach in now to get the best out of what we've got. So yeah, it's been a busy period, but at the heart of everything was to try and bring a togetherness and a change of mental. It's very easy to lose matches every week. It's also very easy to win games every week. So we wanted to flip that momentum around. Start on Saturday, build some momentum, build some sort of cohesion between everyone, and hopefully it'll take us forward. But yeah, listen, I've been really, really pleased with what we've managed to do. I've been really pleased with how we've been able to go about it, the right types of people and characters and profile of players that hopefully, these are the players that can go up with us as well, and can sustain it when we ideally go up a division. So yeah, look, listen, a lot's gone on, a lot of turnover, I'm sure, but internally we've been really pleased with how it's gone, and I'm really pleased with. I watched every training session, so I'm really pleased with that togetherness, that desire from the lads, and the things that the manager's trying to do that'll bring out the best in them.
I think as well, from the club point of view, we've got to remember, go back to May, we had a different manager then, so we got a new head coach, new head of football operations, and we've changed our recruitment approach as well. So in all of those things, that togetherness to come and do what we've done in the period of time, I think is really good. And the way that people have worked together in what has been quite a turbulent time, I think is testament to the team. They've done a fantastic job in dealing the business that we have done, and obviously we need a couple more, but I think it shouldn't go unnoticed how much has been done over what is a couple of months.
And I think, sorry, just to add to that as well, I think, listen, you don't want to lose good players, but we knew it was inevitable. One thing I would say, it probably doesn't look great when they're all going, but the head coach hasn't seen some of these players, so he's not had the chance to see, I could do with him, I could do with him. There was he's only worked with the players that we know we're going to have, and I think when you speak and you hear about other clubs in a similar position, they've still got to get rid of 5 or 6 players because they're still hanging around, whereas we've been able to have a clean break, get a real togetherness with the players that are in, all the players that went to Austria. That was really important. We've not lost anyone since, and we're not envisaging losing anyone else either. So what we've got, we've been able to create a good team spirit, a good togetherness, because we did our work early.
Thank you for the question and the answers. Let's tag on to the head coach theme. Obviously, new head coach Tom Cleverley coming in this season. It looks, anyway, from the untrained eye, myself, that we are going sort of back to the old Argyle way of playing. Passing the ball around out from the back, what we'd seen success from. So is that something that will just continue now after the kind of change that we saw towards the back end of last season, certainly with Miran Muslic when he came in?
You're asking me a football question?
Well, no, I'm not actually, Simon. I'm going to ask David that. But then again, we can talk about the kind of way in which we can come to you in football in a minute. Where we go about looking for coaches, certainly when we played a completely different style last season.
Actually, I'll take it at first because it involves the past when David wasn't here, so it's unfair. We've always wanted to have an Argyle way of playing football that involved, basically vertical passing, mostly along the ground, kind of agnostic about 3 or 4 at the back, but basically attacking football, trying to score goals, trying to move the ball quickly up the pitch on the ground. We took a view back in January that wasn't working for us with the squad that we had, and that a change of style under Miron, which was clearly much less possession-based, much more about physicality, much more about fast break, scoring on the counter, and so on, would be give us the best chance of keeping us in the championship. And it failed. So there is definitely some element of going back to the Argyle way. The other thing we learned, though, is that we just cannot be too dogmatic about it. We have to be much more flexible. And this is where I'll hand over to David. I think it's fair to say that the players that we've hired, that we've put under contract so far this season, are much more flexible in terms of the style of football they can play, and even the positions they can play. I was just watching Brendan Wiradu, and is he centre back or full back?
Yeah.
Central midfielder.
Do it all,
very good example.
Yeah, that's exactly right, and that was certainly something that was identified. Is having adaptable players for sure that can play different positions. But one thing I think with bringing in Tom is there's not this 1,000 passes for the sake of 1,000 passes. He doesn't believe in that. He doesn't want the ball at the goalkeeper's feet. He wants to play forward quickly. He wants to play aggressive. He wants to win the ball back quickly. We've signed athletic, dynamic players to do that. So I'd like to think that when you come to watch the game on a Saturday, you will see a team that is aggressive, that is on the front foot, but can play different ways as well. And I watched the Norwich game last season under Miron, and it wasn't pretty to watch, but we won. And that's the most important thing in football. We have to win, and we have to have different ways to go about winning. Listen, we all love to play the beautiful game and, like I say, 1 million passes and score the perfect goal. But we know that League One especially is not that. So we have to have a variety to what we want to do. And that is something that Tom spoke about a lot when we were going through the process, having different ways of playing, but also playing aggressive, playing front foot, and wanting people that will excite the fans. And that's hopefully something that we'll do.
Great, thank you. We've got 10 minutes left, so I'll do one, then we'll open it up to 3 or 4, and then I'll finish on a couple at the end from questions that have come in. So, David, again to you, thinking ahead to preparation and being ready to hit the ground running in a couple of days' time. Do you think that? Well, what were your thoughts on pre-season? Do you feel it's gone well? Has it set the team up in the best possible way? And then, looking forward, is it beneficial to potentially have a trip where you might play 2 or 3 games, or is the trip more beneficial to do what we did and basically just be more of a kind of team building, work on tactics, cohesion?
Yeah, I think the timing of the trip is really important for that. I think that is the time. So you have your first initial 2 weeks where it's a lot of running. It's very difficult. It's very intense. You probably have a game at the end of it, which we did. We played Exeter behind closed doors. And then you get your trip. And then that's when you go a little bit away from the physical and start implementing your tactical work. Obviously, he's a new coach and new ideas, new players. So I think the trip it's really important, the timing of it. And we got that right. And that's where you do your tactical work. So if you were to have 3 games in that week, you can't train. So I think Tom was really pleased with how that trip worked. He was double sessions every day, meetings, because you're all in the hotel, so you can have plenty of meetings, individual unit meetings with the midfielders, the strikers, and then the team meetings in terms of how we want to play. Because you're all living together for a week, it's the real key time to put your messages over, set out some standards, set out your goals. And I think it's a really good time to do that. And then you come back and then you play your games for the last sort of 3 weeks of pre-season. So the way pre-season was structured, really pleased with it. I think we had Exeter behind closed doors. We had an in-house game here because I think it was important that the new lads got on the pitch as soon as they could. I think that's really, really important. And also what that enables you to do is you can control the minutes of the players. So everyone played 90 minutes. Instead, we could have had a game somewhere else and you're playing 60 minutes and 30 minutes or 2 45s, whereas we were able to give all the squad 90 minutes, which was important. And then we finished it off with a really tough game against a championship, top 6 championship side. So in terms of how pre-season structured, really pleased with the trip. It's enabled to get all the work in that we've wanted. And yeah, we're going to speak around it in the next couple of months about how next season looks and sort of review it a little bit. But yeah, in terms of how it was structured and layered in the games, because I think it was important. Sorry, I'm waffling. We could have played, I think we could have gone to St George's Park and played a game at St George's Park on the Saturday, but the lads are going to spend that much time on the coach next year. It's not worth it. We can control it a lot more here. You want to limit your travel as much as you can. You don't want lads travelling here, there and everywhere in pre-season. I think we might have played Blackpool away one pre-season. We're going to do enough of those trips. So I thought the travel was really important as well, and we got that right.
Okay. Yeah, I'll open the floor up for a few questions. So those who haven't asked one yet still want to, opportunity now. Look, quite a few hands up actually, so we'll try and get to all of you if you can.
This is a two-part question. Firstly, Tom Cleverley, is he actually moved down here with his family, or is he sort of travelling?
I'll take that. He's travelling, yeah. His family are based up north near mine, and then he's got a place. He's got a place near the front now. He's got his own apartment. They were down last week, and I think that just it's what works for him. He was the same at Watford, so when he was manager at Watford, it was exactly the same. His family were up north, and he was just all in. He was 6 days a week at Watford. He's the same down here, and you'll know this. He's the first one in. He's the last one to leave, and I think being able to do that is what works for him. And listen, he's not in a rush to go home for sure. He's putting in the hours, and that was one of the key things in having him and wanting him at the club was his desire to get stuck in, and we're really pleased with that.
Yeah. Sorry, just to add though, I think we've kind of changed our policy on this a bit. So when we hired Ryan, for example, we wanted, and Ryan ended up not moving down here, but we wanted a manager who'd moved down here. But we learnt with the brief period of Ian Foster that it can cause problems. I mean, the fact is that Tom's down here 6 days a week. You know, he's not having to take the kids to school. He's not having to pick them up after. He's not having to do whatever. He's on duty for 24 hours a day, 6 days a week. And he is the kind of guy who doesn't stop, I think it's fair to say. So, you know, on an hours per week basis, we're getting more out of him than we would if he lived here. Yeah. It also creates difficulties for the family. You know, when things are going well, everybody's very friendly, but when things are not going badly, your family comes under terrible pressure. And living here would increase that pressure should things not go well. So we're no longer as insistent on it as we were 5 or 6 years ago.
Yeah. No, because obviously, statistically, 75-80% of managers don't last 2 years in a job. So it doesn't make, Foxy, you all know that it doesn't make sense moving down. You know, your family's got their life back up north or wherever. And is it fair moving them down, especially when you've got teenagers in the school? Is it for we feel like you should only be down there a year or whatever? It's not done their education any good. Yeah. I think a lot of supporters forget that people, you know, off the pitch, people got personal lives as well.
It's their commitment that's the most important thing, I think.
But is it clarified at the start how much time they're planning on spending down? Like, there's been rumours in the past where managers, they spent more time in the north of England than they actually did down here.
Yeah, that's the fact that he went through what he did at Watford, and we spoke about what his week looked like at Watford and the commitment he had to it, made us comfortable that it would be the same here. He's adamant that he's here all the time. He's adamant he's the first one in. He's adamant he's the last one to leave. And that's not putting pressure on anyone else to do the same. That's just him. So we were confident that the work we would get would be the top work that he can produce, and that's what we've seen in pre-season. That's what I expect for him to do, because he spoke a lot about when he was going through the interview process with us. He spoke a lot about he's at the start of his journey, and he mentioned he's start of his business. He called it his business. So this is he's trying to build up a business, and you can't do that if you just half-hearted. You have to be all in, and that's what he is. He's invested in himself, in his coaching career. His playing career was obviously stellar, and he got to the top, but he's not leaning on that. He knows he's at the very beginning of his journey, and he's got to put the hours in, and we're really pleased with that.
Thank you.
No worries.
Right, there are a couple of questions over on this side, a couple of hands that are up. So we'll take those two. And then we'll finish on a couple from back home. Can you put your hands up again, sorry? Yeah. So we'll do these two here.
This is a two-question, one to Simon and one to Andrew. The first one to Simon and Andrew is, with the club shop, are we looking to expand it and even like back in the 2000s, add one in the Plymouth City Centre?
Well, first of all, the club shop and the retail side has been absolutely tremendous over the last 2 or 3 years. I mean, it's grown from where it was, both the shop itself and online. And I'm sure you agree the range, everything else has been fantastic in how that's been built up. And we do recognise the fact, particularly on match day, that the store isn't big enough. So we do need to think about what do we do in the future. That comes back to some of the things that Simon alluded to in terms of how do we expand the stadium, how do we get a better environment here, and that will be absolutely one of the things that will be part of the project that we'll be looking at. Notwithstanding that, I think a few years ago we did look at having a store in the city centre over Christmas time. It didn't always work, but I think given the growth of our retail store now, and going back to the fact that not everyone get that stock that they would want, then it is something that we need to look at as an option. There is one other thing though we need to think about, is that the shift now is definitely probably gone to 50-50 online versus people coming into the store, whereas probably pre-COVID it was 70-30, in terms of retail in the store versus online. So we've got to balance those, but absolutely we need a bigger store of some sort for sure.
And my other question is to David. Connor Hazard is set to miss another month of the season. Obviously we bring in Luca Ashby-Hammond on a free transfer, and to do with second choice goalkeepers, are we Zach Baker and all that, and Leo McCormick, when Hazard starts to come back from his injury, are we set to loan out McCormick, or keep him in the academy, or loan Zach Baker out?
Good question. In an ideal world, I think Zach Baker would go and get some games somewhere. We like Leo McCormick. He's very, very new to the club. He's only started full time the last few weeks. If we can sneak him out on loan maybe the last couple of months of the season, I think that'd be great for his development. But also, he's got to play some games for the under-18s. He's had a great start to his career here in terms of going on the pre-season tour. So yeah, we like a lot of the goalkeepers we've got at the club. But yeah, ideally, Zach Baker goes out on loan and gets some games. And Connor Hazard, hopefully he's not as long as a month. I think he'll be a bit quicker than that.
Zach was out on loan to Tiverton last year, I think, wasn't he?
That's right. So we'll try and get him up a little bit higher level if we can. But yeah, great question.
Thanks, David.
No worries, mate.
We'll take the other question. Yeah, just in front of you then.
It's a question for David, really, but travelling away from home is a huge issue. You mentioned in your previous answer that travelling for pre-season wasn't necessary. But do we have any plans, if any, to change the process when we play away in order to pick up more points? Even when we won the league with 101 points, I think 68% of our points came here, right? So is there anything in the works?
I believe you've looked at all sorts in the past, haven't you? I think you've looked at the bus and the team bus. Can we get, can we make improvements with that side of things? But it is just what it is. And I think it goes back to, what I spoke about earlier. It's the characters of the people that you bring here. Whenever we spoke to a new signing that we brought in this summer, we spoke a lot around what you like with what you like with other players, who do you hang around with, how do you spend your spare time, because you're going to spend a lot of time with each other. So you need the right people, because you are going to spend 6-7 hours on a coach. So you have to bring the right characters in, people that can blend with everyone else, people that aren't just going to moan. The manager speaks a lot about solutions, not excuses, and that goes into the away travel as well. All I can speak about is my experience when I played, and what got us results in away matches was the togetherness of the lads. That's what it was, and that's what we're trying to create. The team that got promoted a few years ago, I'm pretty sure they'll all say the same thing, that it was a great bunch of lads that stuck together. When things were difficult, they all stuck together. When you're 6 hours on a bus, you find ways to get on with each other. And I feel like that's the most important thing. Listen, we've got plenty of experienced staff that go into are they eating the right things? Are they drinking the right things? The protein shake is so different. You know, it used to be a pack of Haribos and a Diet Coke. It's a lot different now. I can assure you there's a lot better food on the bus than a few years ago. So we are always looking at ways to improve, find those little margins, and it's something that the manager spoke a lot about, is how we do improve that away record, and a lot of it comes down to finding solutions, not excuses.
Just two things. Firstly, 68% is a pretty good away record.
No, that was the home record.
Yeah, I know, but 32% is pretty good for away. If you think you win at home and draw away, that's 75% and 25%. So that's one thing. The first conversation I ever had with David back in 2017, you've probably forgotten, it was after he appeared at the Senior Greens. And I said to him, you know, how bad is the away travel? And he said exactly what he said now. He said it actually brings you together. So at least he's been consistent.
Yeah. First one was Carlisle away, and I wasn't even. I wasn't even on. I was injured. I wasn't even on the bench, and I still had to go Carlisle away. Yeah. That was an introduction.
That is, welcome to Plymouth. Yeah. Right, a couple of questions to finish on that we haven't been able to kind of get to yet, but are very important. Firstly, we've got this far and not mentioned the women's team yet. So, new head coach in there as well. New shirt sponsor deal, which has gone down very well. Lots of new players and aspirations to do better than we have done in the last couple of seasons, for sure. Andrew, should we go to you on this? Give us a little update on where the women's team are and things that are different this year that people can see.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I think you remember that last year was the first year that the women's team came under the oversight of the club from the Community Trust, and that was always going to be a time for us to look at how do we want to take it forward. I think what we've done over the last year in terms, and certainly this season, is to look at how do we promote the game. So I think you'll see a lot more visibility on all our social platforms, media platforms about the game. We're playing all our games now at home park as well, which I think has been a real fillip to the team. And we've had a real focus on bringing the women's team up. You know, you'll see that we've had lots of new additions to the squad, and we've also hired a top coach as well. I think it's a real good start when we go to Fulston Park, and we'll have a permanent home there as well. So I think absolutely on the up and up, and obviously with the success of the Lionesses, I think there's something great to build upon. And just to give you some numbers as well, last week, pre-season game, we had 1,500 people in here. Last year we had 200 for the pre-season. The season tickets this year were at 1,000. Last year was a couple of 100. So I think everything is going in the right direction and very exciting. And you know, everyone should feel that they should come along. It's for families, but it's for lots of our supporters and new supporters too, which is really important. So really exciting.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry we haven't been able to do more on the women's team, but you know there are a lot of things obviously that were coming from the audience here as well as from back home. Hopefully that has cleared a few things up. There were quite a few questions actually about the fact, and this is going back to transfers, so we're kind of going back a little bit, player trading has been something that's been brought up quite a lot in recent years, that we've spoken about as being a model that we want to kind of go down and, use, and it's been successful in areas, but there are also examples, Michael Baidoo and Rami Al-Hajj, where in particular with Michael Baidoo, he's gone on loan rather than had any money recouped, and is that just something that will happen, or is it a failure in somewhere along the line in terms of the recruitment in the first place?
It's
both.
It's something that will happen, but it is a failure. But failures happen when you're making decisions under conditions of uncertainty. It is certain that some of those decisions won't work out. And just, my whole business, my investment life has been built. We built a successful investment firm that manages, I don't know, whatever it is, $40 billion over the last 35 years on making 52% of our decisions right. So you try to examine how you make decisions, both when you go get it right or when you have the right result, because quite often you get the right result for the wrong reasons. It's very rare that outcomes are exactly as you predicted when there's so much uncertainty. But it's certain that you'll get things wrong. But what's important is that you learn from those mistakes. And, if you got things right the whole time, you'd never learn anything. So, this sounds a little trite, but the opportunities to learn and improve come mostly from your mistakes, not from getting things right. So clearly there were mistakes. Clearly they didn't work out. In the case of Baidoo, it hasn't worked out yet. But, we move on. But we have to accept that you have to look at, so I think of it as a portfolio, which is what I do in my day job. You have to look at the whole portfolio, and the whole portfolio has been successful.
And David, just your point on that as well. Obviously, you weren't involved in bringing the players to the club, but you were in terms of them leaving. Are they good? Are you happy with those departures and the kind of, I'm not going to go into numbers or anything, but like the remuneration or whatever that we got?
I think the Baidoo one, he is still our player. That's what it is. He's still our player.
Could we have sold it? Could we have sold him? Would we have looked to sell him?
That's a good question. I think we knew from the start what the mindset was from the player. He didn't want to play in League One. He had the ability to go and explore things elsewhere. He did that. At no point did he want to come back. But as we've spoken about here, he's still our player. He's still an asset that we've got, and we'll keep tabs on him. Hopefully he does well, and that'll create value for him. In terms of Rami, it was a very difficult situation for him. I think the whole season he had two different managers. He then had a third in Tom. I think he struggled to settle into the country, the environment, and he made it very clear that he had no intention of staying in League One. Absolutely not a problem with me. And we want players that want to be here. He made it clear he didn't want to go on loan and come back, and that was it. We've got some money back, and we move on. And like we all speak about, we learn from it and progress. And listen, no one's going to hold us to ransom or do anything like that. If they're not wanting to be here, then we move on.
Okay.
And I think sometimes we just got to face into, you have to make difficult decisions sometimes as well. That's part and parcel of running a football club, isn't it?
Just a final topic. Thank you for everything you've done so far up here, and for the questions that have come in. This normally gets kind of bigger billing, I should say, but it is an important point, and it's around loyalty points. So there's a few sections to it, probably best to answer for you here, Andrew. Why aren't fans getting loyalty points or attending the Virtue Trophy matches? Surely it's meant to kind of reward people that are actually going to games.
Well, actually, I think we should review this in terms of that moving forward, because obviously it's built around season ticket holders, and we've now got a full stadium, and we know as well that now we're back in the Virtue competition, that it's important that we get crowds, always important. So I do think we will take it away to review and look at that.
The priority points, yeah?
Yeah, priority points. And then on a similar sort of thing, but with Evergreen, will the club ever consider changing it so you only get points for away games?
I think that's more complicated because we need to look at the overall proposition of Evergreen, and that's obviously built on lots of factors as well. I don't see a situation where it would only be on away games, if I'm honest, but I do think we always receive feedback. We always go to Evergreen members to seek feedback as well, and we'll constantly review that as part of it. We run the risk of, if we give some supporters what they would ideally want, then others won't benefit from it. So we have to take a rounded view on it.
Okay, thank you very much.
Sorry, I'd just add that a lot of Evergreen members are overseas. So, their annual treat may be, we've actually got a few coming in tomorrow for Saturday's game, but they want to come to Home Park. So it is tricky, yeah.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Again, sorry that didn't get bigger billing, but there was a lot, obviously, to get to in today's forum. I think we should wrap it up there. I will end by asking all of you the same question. We'll go down the line.
I know what it's going to be.
Go on, then.
I think you asked us where we're going to finish, aren't you?
Well, I wasn't, but where are we going to finish?
Well, I think there's a hierarchy to this.
Second.
Second.
Yeah.
Okay.
My predictions are worth nothing.
Exactly.
As I always say, they're free, and that's the right
I
price.
was going to ask, how confident are you feeling ahead of the new season? So it's not quite the same question,
let's
but
answer
similar.
that. That's an
Not
easy
pinning
question.
you to a position, although Simon's done that for him. That will be clipped out, put on social media.
Yeah.
But you're confident in second, fine. Let's
I didn't say I was. I don't know. I said I was not confident. I have no confidence in my forecasts.
But confidence in the team.
But I have confidence it's going to be a good season with attacking, attractive football. We're going to be very competitive. I'm very confident it's going to be a lot of fun.
Okay, Andrew? Same.
I think Simon summed that up really well. I think we'll play attractive football. I think one of the great things when we all start a season is new players and seeing how they all get on. I think that's really, really exciting for us. I think we've got a great head coach as well, so I'm really confident that we'll do very well.
Yeah, absolutely. I just hope there's lads on there that give the fans something to be proud of, and that's my main goal. And hopefully they'll give them something to cheer about. There'll be something that they can be proud of, and lads that are giving it everything. So yeah, look, really confident, really looking forward to it. It's been a long few months. I just want the season to start now. So yeah.
We are almost there. Thank you very much. Everybody, please give your appreciation to our brilliant panel. David Fox, Andrew Parkinson, and Simon Hallett.
Charlie.
Thank you very much for your contributions with questions, and for people watching at home. Again, apologies for the beginning of the stream. We will be uploading the full version on Argyle TV and YouTube for you to go back to and listen, watch anything that you might have missed at the beginning. But I hope it's cleared up some queries and questions for you. We'll be doing another one of these, of course, later on in the season. But for now, it is all about the football. And yeah, let's hope it is a good season, which all begins on Saturday. Have a good evening.
Thank you.